Editor for the Columbus Dispatch. And I just want to thank you guys for joining us today to talk about this topic, which, to be honest, none of us want to be here, but we really need to be here because this is something that we have to address as a community. The way we think about these things oftentimes is let the police department handle it, or let politicians handle it, or let somebody other than me handle it. But we all know that the solutions to these things come from the community, us. So that's why we want to have this particular talk, to kind of drill down on what we as individuals can do to help improve the lives of teens in our city and address this crisis of gun violence in the place we call home. So today we're going to have a very good set of panelists come forward to discuss this with you, but we want to involve you as well in the seeking of solutions in the dialogue. When you first came in, there were some note cards. I hope everybody got one. Did you get a note card? Okay, if you didn't, you still can, because we'll be walking around with the note cards. And at the very end of it, we'll have some dispatch staffers distribute them for you. So if you're not familiar with the Columbus Dispatch, I'm sorry. We've been around for 150 years, more than 150 years, actually. And we've been telling the stories of Columbus for that very long time, and we are a part of this community. So when it was abundantly clear to us that this problem was not getting better, but in fact was getting worse, we drilled down. We devoted our squad of 40 reporters and editors and photographers to diving deep into gun violence with our Under Fire project, which is a year-long effort to tell the story of not only the problem, but solutions that can be found for this problem. My colleague Mike Wagner is going to come up in just a little bit to talk about the project, but we really kind of wanted to have this event so that we can talk about solutions. Before I go too far along in the process, I want to thank our partners. We have partnered with the Columbus City Council, Columbus City Schools, and of course, the Columbus Library, which is 150 years old. We're going to have a brief message right now from CEO Patrick Losinski. I did it.
All right, thank you, Amelia. I'm glad you remembered the 150 part, so appreciate that, our 150th year. Thanks to all of you for the support that you've given us throughout the year. Really, on behalf of the Library Board of Trustees and our very passionate staff, I just want to welcome all of you to this very important conversation here at the main library today. You probably don't think of this often, but the library's purpose or mission statement has really three concepts: inspire reading, share resources, and connect people. Maybe we're not inspiring reading today, but we are sharing many resources. Sometimes those resources are in a book that you take, but sometimes they are tapping into the wisdom that exists within our community, and I think that's going to happen today. And if we connect people, we are supporting and nurturing community, and I think we all could use a little bit more of that these days. The other reason for our interest, and where we quickly said yes about participating today, is urban libraries are very, very public spaces. In this very room in April, we hosted a national forum of urban library staff to talk about safety and security and gun violence and what is being experienced all around the country. We had 250 people from throughout North America who were with us for 2 days and 80 who were on the waiting list. It's sad for me to think of how much need there is for it, but it just shows the state that we're in right now and the work that is before us. As I tell our employees frequently at 24 locations, without basic safety and security, everything that we do is compromised. And I think we know that not just in libraries, but really throughout our community. So I hope today's conversation leads us to a path of a safer and better community. And I want to thank you on behalf of the Columbus Metropolitan Library for being here at the main library today. To begin with, we are now going to start with an audio clip of... We're actually going to switch up a little bit. We are not going to start with an audio clip. All right, let me turn it back to Amelia. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. We are actually going to start with a presentation from Council President Shannon Harding.
For all the attention that homicide might have gotten in any particular day, or even throughout a week, that the trail of grief and the trail of agony will go on for a lifetime for these families. We can have some control over this. Individuals, neighbors, grandmas, aunties, church pastors, coaches, we got us. We can do this. We can't solve it all, but there is something that we can do. We can touch one, we can engage one, we can talk to one, we can help be that conflict resolution mentor to a young person. This is just saying that we're not going to give up. We're not going to give up. We're not going to give up. We're not going to leave it to the state house. We're not even going to wait to see what the city does. But that we as individual members of this community are going to do our part in our own small sphere to take care of one another.
Gun violence has impacted my community by everybody just being scared of guns. Me personally, I'm scared of guns, and I feel like guns should be something that's protecting you, not something that you're scared of. You look on the news and there's somebody getting shot almost every day. Somebody losing their life over something dumb every day. It's like, it's ever since guns have been centurating Columbus, the whole entire world for the past decade or so, it's been crazy. Like, just too many losses over dumb things, too many kids getting taken away from their moms, parents, anything. It's just too much going on. I seen, like, probably a few weeks ago when I was going to my hair appointment that they were doing gun buybacks down on the north side, and there was like cars lined up, and I just feel like you're taking these off the streets, but it's not like people can't go buy more. It's not like, we're not even supposed to be afraid of guns. We're supposed to feel protected by the people that are holding the guns, but it's little kids looking down the barrel of guns and they're not even supposed to. It's people getting shot that don't got nothing to do with nothing. It's bullets don't got no type of names to them. So if you standing by one, you could get hurt just by being somewhere you ain't supposed to be.
The young lady you just heard is a Columbus Public School student, and we want to bring up right now Superintendent Dr. Angela Chapman, who is going to talk about Columbus City Schools' restorative practices and the trauma that the students have experienced.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the dispatch, Amelia, for inviting us to be a part of this very important conversation. Patrick, thank you for hosting us here in the library today. I come to you this evening on behalf of our Board of Education. One of our board members, our C, is here with us, Christina Vera, the students, the staff, and our entire Columbus City Schools community. This topic about gun violence is certainly on the hearts and minds of every educator, every parent in our school district. When trauma and death and violence happens in our communities, we feel it every day in our classrooms, not just for one moment. Oftentimes, we tend to shy away from conversations surrounding teens and gun violence because these are very difficult conversations to have. But they are necessary to face head-on if we wish to improve the lives and safety of our students. Our schools, our classrooms, are microcosms of our community. Again, when tragedy or trauma happens in our neighborhoods, our students certainly bring it to school with them. This occurs daily in classrooms throughout our district and throughout our country, which makes it a national social concern. With that backdrop, it is imperative for us to take a holistic approach to solving these issues together collectively. Violence, and particularly gun violence, affects the entire makeup of the child. Their physical and mental well-being, how they perform, how they show up, if they show up in school, how they interact with others. Basically, every factor, every aspect of our students is impacted. And as educators, we aim to empower our students and give them the tools that they need to succeed, not just on the state standards or the state assessment, but academically as well, but also in life. I think about the African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. As adults, community members, and parents, it is our job to do the most we possibly can to protect and invest in our most precious citizens. As our young scholars grow, they are looking at us, me, you, and everyone here, to come together and support their dreams and their aspirations. Investing in the safety and well-being of our students and community is a collective action. We must act together to inspire and change our communities. This is the purpose of our Restorative Practices program within the district. Our vision with our Restorative Practices work is that within the next 5 years, CCS will become a trusted district of restorative leaders and practitioners through investing in this powerful practice, embracing our values, and fostering relationships. The goal is to ensure that we develop healthy, inclusive, and safe learning environments for all. Through restorative practices, students lead efforts to shape a positive school culture, enhancing social and emotional awareness while fostering accountability. Our students are being trained to lead student-to-student-led restorative practices in schools. Second-year students will mentor their peers, ensuring a smooth transition. Through restorative practices, students lead efforts to shape a positive school culture. This initiative is crucial in fostering a safer environment in light of the increased gun violence in our communities. Our schools have begun holding regular morning meetings throughout the incorporation of community circles as a proactive relationship building tool. We have 4 schools embarking on the year 2 pilot of their student-led restorative practices journey, with more than 180 employees and nearly 90 students trained in student-led restorative practices. And I have to give a shout out to our student-led restorative practices facilitator, AJ, I see in the back. Thank you for being here. The adults in our buildings in CCS are also heavily involved in restorative practices. You see, this work is certainly being done is being used as a strategy for our students to empower their voices, to give them the tools that they need to build relationships, solve conflicts, no matter where they are. Whether they're in the classroom, they're on the playground, they're at the movie theater, they're at the mall, they're downstairs in the library. These are skills that are transferable not only for students, but also for the adults. And as a part of this work, we are also beginning to train community members through partnerships with faith-based leaders and district partners. Now, we'll take a look at this program in action, and you will get to hear from our students about their interpretation and how they are using these strategies to support, again, strengthening relationships, working with their peers, and building healthier communities in their schools.
In the library at Walnut Ridge High School, a group of students are getting to know each other. They call themselves the Swarm.
Every time we're coming, we're going to swarm you with this embrace of positive knowledge. We're going to swarm you with just love.
The conversation ranges from light topics such as what is their favorite food to more intimate questions like what emotions are they feeling today, and do you feel like your voice is heard amongst peers? Students are leading the way through student-led restorative practices with the purpose of improving the culture and climate in schools and growing connections while enhancing communication.
I think that that's very invaluable to promoting a healthy school culture, because having it so that the students can resolve their own conflicts can be much more fulfilling than just having a teacher like tell you how to do something.
Hunter Praze is participating in his first restorative circle, one of 3 key strategies that creates a healthy and equitable space for students to communicate and connect with one another.
The idea behind restorative practices is that we're constantly looking for how can we have the response to whatever behavior we experience be one that calls people into a sense of community.
Columbus City Schools is in year 2 of the pilot program. With help and guidance from restorative practice coach A.J. Crapel, students at Walnut Ridge, Briggs, Beechcroft, and Mifflin High School are learning how to facilitate conversations which can lead to better relationships and communication between peers and teachers in the building. Student-led restorative practices focuses on 3 categories of circles: community-led circles, a proactive circle that leads to connection and community building; mediation circles, a restorative conversation used for conflict resolution; and restorative circles, a process where a person who was harmed and the person who has harmed come together with others who have been affected to discuss what happened.
It's really empowering to me to be able to have people come in and have a problem and you can solve it.
Jamari Flushman held her first mediation circle last year, helping a fellow student resolve a conflict with a teacher and avoid suspension.
I got in trouble before I was in restorative practice. When I got in trouble, I could have been suspended and not being able to play in a game on Friday. But we did the practice and did the restorative circle, and I actually had a lot more time to recover myself, and I actually got to play on the game on Friday.
Jatai Wright is now participating in student-led restorative practices as a student leader and hopes to use his story to help other students resolve conflicts.
A lot of kids, I don't really see them get in a lot of trouble that much no more. Matter of fact, a lot of kids look forward to being in a restorative circle.
We aren't going to police our way to greatness. You know, we're either going to invest in the capacity of our students and give them the tools they need in their toolbox to really be great on their own terms, or we are deluding ourselves that the culture and climate is ever meaningfully going to change, that we will temporarily suspend children into submission, but we won't educate them into their own greatness.
Hi, I'm Mike Wagner, and I had the honor of leading 28 journalists at the Dispatch in covering 80 straight hours of gun violence in our community. As Amelia said, we've been writing about gun violence throughout the year, but we asked ourselves a simple question. What is it really like? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How bad is it? And we felt the only way to really tell folks what it's like out there is to get out with people on the front lines. And that's what we did for 80 straight hours. It took a lot of planning. We embedded ourselves with police. We were in the courts. We were in funeral homes with folks who were shot and killed before the 80 hours. We were in therapy sessions. We couldn't get into Cy Grant Hospital, but the Ohio Health folks were great in making available trauma surgeons, nurses, doctors who got done with grueling shifts and told us what was happening inside. We all have a lot of moments, but the one that will stick with me forever is I interviewed the chaplain after an all-night shift, and he recalled a case he had where a mother had both of her daughters randomly struck. Bullets flew into their apartment. They were innocent victims. Both were fighting for their life. She was holding one, and the other one was being transported to Children's Hospital. And she had to make the horrible decision of which daughter to stay with. And it chokes me up to this day. And she did lose her daughter at Grant, and her other daughter survived. But these are the things that these folks deal with every day. And one thing we learned in deploying for the 80 hours is that gun violence doesn't stop. This was considered a slow weekend. There was a storm this is from July 20th through the morning of the 23rd. And so the storms typically sort of calm gun violence. But despite that, there were 207 reports of gun violence. There were 10 people shot. A 20-year-old was shot and killed after running an errand for his mom. A 13-year-old was shot at a pool party. A 7-year-old accidentally shot herself with her parents' gun. It didn't stop. There were 50 guns confiscated over the 80 hours. There were nearly 50 people in the courts who were either charged with new gun-related crimes or were dealing with old cases. It just exhausts the police, exhausts the folks in the courts, the hospitals, and it doesn't stop. So we're going to watch a video. Issa Jalani was a 15-year-old playing soccer in the Hilltop when some cars rolled up related to gangs, looking for one of his teammates. An argument ensued, and Issa was shot and killed. It was horrible, and we covered Issa's memorial during our 80 hours.
Today we gather to remember Issa. Can you be the ambassador of peace, ambassador of love? Can you make sure that we are not fighting?
I just can't tell you what a good kid he was. And I never thought that I would be doing any of this in Issa's name. But I believe that I owe him that. We owe him that. The kid he was, we remember him and we praise him and we keep his legacy alive. And why we lost Issa? He was playing soccer in Havenwood community, the same community where we already lost another kid three weeks before. And then July 22nd, they were playing soccer. The next door to the field is the mosque, is a big mosque. So what they were thinking that they were playing, and many of them were planning to go to offer the last prayer. Our last prayer in summer is late. So kids were playing on the field, and these gangsters, they came, and what I understand, they came in 6 cars. They came in 6 cars, and what I learned, I was not there, but I learned from my coaches and the kids, they came in 6 cars. They were all behaving as if they were on some kind of drugs or they were drunk. They were told to leave, and the coaches said that they felt there's something wrong, and they started, hiding or sending the younger kids away. And one of the coach tried to de-escalate and told them, please leave, we don't want to fight with you, we are just playing soccer, we have nothing to do with you. In the meantime, what I understand is that one adult, when an elderly shouted or something, and these people, they actually started shooting, point blank. I wanted to make sure that we tell the world that we just didn't lose some kid. He was not a number. He was not a number on Hilltop. He was not a number we lost a very bright man. We lost it was a loss of our whole community.
Thank you for sharing that video, Mike. I now want to introduce our panel. We have Shannon Mulligan, who is the co-lead for Columbus Moms Demand Action, and Moms Demands Action is an organization working for safety measures that will make us all safer from gun violence. Did I get a description? Okay, good. We also have Melissa Thomas St. Clair, who is from Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children. It's a nonprofit, mostly of mothers who have lost children to violent crimes. We also have Dominic Jones, and Dominic Jones is the co-founder of Legacy Youth Academy, a nonprofit that works with youth through sports, and you have football and dance and cheer mostly, right? Yeah, thank you. And we also have some young leaders from Columbus Urban League with us today. We have Taylin Hurt, and she is with the Urban League's Readiness Training University. And we have Kalia Watkins, who is also with the Columbus Urban League. So thank you all for joining us on stage today. Yeah. So we all think we know what the reality of gun violence is, but from your perspective, what is the reality? And we'll start with you, Melissa.
Thank you for having me. I'm also a 26-year veteran educator with Columbus City Schools. I work at Champion Middle School. I've only been in 2 schools, which is Champion Clinton. In those 26 years, I can't count how many students I've lost to violent crimes. My son was murdered 2013. He was stabbed in his heart. Most of the violence we're seeing is gun violence, but I don't want to be remiss to say that there are all types of violence. Families are being decimated. Communities are becoming ghost towns. Villages are lost. And the sad reality is our youth are becoming normalized to the violence. So violence is now the loud noise, even though it's the minority of what's really happening in our communities. The greater good is really taking place, but because the violence is so disruptive, because of the youth that it's affecting, being the perpetrator or the offender is speaking louder than the good.
What do you say to that, Taylin?
Okay, my name is Taylor Hurd. I'm 15, and I'm a sophomore at Wintersburg Livingston campus. I think that every time I walk out the house, I have a 2% higher chance of not coming back home than any other age, and I have a 14% higher chance to get wounded in a gun arm fight. Last year, a friend of mine went to a party and got shot, and the gun hit somebody through their head, and she was left there to die. And scenarios like that, out of the many, create spaces where parents won't allow us to go to parties or won't allow us to go out even when we deserve it, and it's very unfortunate.
What about you? Are you afraid when you go out? What would you say to that?
Yes, I'm a little afraid.
What makes you afraid?
Because a lot of kids our age, they play with guns and they think it's fun, and they think it's okay just to flex, and it's just not.
Dominic, what are you saying as somebody who works closely with youth?
Myself and Ralph Carter run a program at our Columbus Urban League called Step, and one of the things that we first ask our kids is, hey, do you want to live? That's one of the first questions that we ask our kids when they come through the door, and you kind of get them kind of some like, I don't know, like, I mean, and for me, that's always a question that we really tap into, because at that point, those kids aren't feeling like they have purpose. They aren't feeling empowered. They aren't feeling any sense of belonging, right? Haven't truly attached themselves to something that make them feel like it's worth living, right? They think that their households are really the end all be all, that there's nothing outside of the 4 walls that maybe they'd be living in, right? And so a lot of kids resort to guns and gang violence as a sense of belonging and trying to feel attached, or maybe a sense of feeling cool, right? And then ultimately they end up shooting individuals because they're either scared, you know. A lot of our kids were impacted by the shooting that happened in Easton. A lot of our kids was, and a lot of those kids had personal relationships with all parties involved. And so for us to talk to these, you know, anywhere between 14 and 17-year-old kids about, I'm not even feeling comfortable going to the movies. I can't go to this event, because now event policies change. Now Easton policy changes, right? Now sporting events are changing, right? And you feel so captive, it almost makes it like, man, ain't no out. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything, right? And so I think what we're seeing from our young people is just, you know, trying to find positive ways, positive outlets, but, you know, they just haven't truly, you know, for what they see on social media, what they see, you know, perpetuated at the click of a button, you know, because now, you know, fights are happening. You can get right online and record it. Somebody on the south end can see what's going on at the north side of the school just like that, right? So I think they're just searching for ways to ultimately end it and be safe too.
What is it about firearms do you think is so attractive? We speak a lot about, the government should keep these guns out of the hands of our kids, but what is it about the firearm that you think sort of draws young people?
I asked you in the audience, have you ever held a gun? If you answered, I've held a gun, I'm a firearm owner legally, I have my CCW, it's an empowering feeling to fire a firearm. I'm being trained, our children are not. When those children fire a firearm and feel that sense of empowerment, we have to understand empowerment is a drug. Feeling protected from what is going to get you and feeling that sense of like superhero-ness, it's an addictive feeling.
What would you say to that?
Well, first, thanks for having us. I appreciate everybody here. And I'd just like to compliment the young ladies up here on the panel. This is not an easy thing to do. So I commend you both. I would say, yes, I completely agree with Melissa. It is an empowering thing. I own a gun. It is very empowering to feel. To me, it saddens me to hear how normalized it has become, and we at Moms Demand Action really work hard to fight against that normalization, and we want to normalize the conversation around secure storage. These kids, a lot of them are getting these guns because an adult did not secure it safely, and we're really working hard to try to normalize that conversation.
So Taylor, what do your friends say about firearms? Do you think they like them, or what do they think about them?
Well, personally, I feel like it's a whole social media thing. Social media does create a lot of unrealistic standards on what's okay and what isn't. So my generation is finding less value in school and in their education and finding more value in how we can hurt each other, and it's pretty unfortunate.
Wow. Kalia, what would you say to that?
I definitely agree with her because social media do start up a big thing, and everybody just think guns is it, and it's not.
So what would you like adults to know about guns and teenagers? I mean, we talk to you all the time. We think we know what you think and how you should act, but what do you want us to know?
About guns?
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely are killing people.
I put you on the spot, I'm sorry. That's my way. What do you say? What do you want us to know?
I think that a lot of parents don't know that just a simple "I love you" or "I'm proud of you," it does change a lot. When you don't get the love from home, you really do tend to turn to social media like, well, I'm gonna get it here. So it's just a simple "I love you" or "You're doing amazing," and it's okay to not be okay. Just telling your kids or telling somebody younger than you that they will be fine or they got this, it does change a lot. So I just think it starts at home.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I think just to echo that last sentiment is that it starts at home. I got two boys, are high schoolers, and I'm very much in tune to what the hell they got going on, right? I think as parents, and even how I grew up, with my mother, single parent household, but she did as best she could to be involved, to know who my friends were, to know where I was going, what time I was coming back. There were some standards that was set. And so now with us dealing with a lot of youth, I mean, sometimes we got kids with us all throughout the day. We don't get one phone call from the parent to check on the kid, how they doing, what they need, etc. So I do feel like from an adult standpoint, we have to take a bigger role and responsibility. We have to look at earlier signs of when our kids actually need the help and assistance. Don't wait till a kid is so far gone to say, oh man, I wish I could have or should have did this. It's like, no. I mean, we all know when our kids are heading down the wrong path or heading with the wrong or hanging out with the wrong crowds. And there's a lot of resources out here for parents to reach out to. But I think sometimes parents are shameful, and I don't want to be that parent that's sending my kid here or getting here. You know what I mean? So I think that we have to, as parents, put the onus on us and create more of a village mindset. Because I always hear that a lot of times, the village mindset is gone. Don't nobody want nobody saying nothing to their kids. And I always tell my sons, if somebody see you doing something wrong, they gonna come tell me, and I'm hoping that they love me enough to help you stop doing whatever you're doing that's gonna harm you or gonna harm somebody else and land yourself in jail or or ultimately dead. So I think that as parents we have to be held accountable more too.
What do you talk to them about? Like, what do you say to them about guns?
For my kids, it's like, yo, bro, like what you seen on the movies and what you listen to in your rap lyrics. There's certain people they can't even listen to in my house, and it's not the fact that they probably aren't listening to when they're around me, but you're not gonna be around me and be disrespectful or listen to certain things, right? Guns can harm people. There's an abundance of stories that I've shared with them and even showed with them, and they have family members that of our own who have been taken away from gun violence, so they ultimately know what guns can do. But they also know that they can't go come to my house and find no gun laying around either. They can't break in anywhere in my house and go steal a gun or get a gun from me. And so again, I think that's just me being a parent who I am and understanding the world that they're out here as young black males that they're gonna face. And so I took a liberty to really make sure that they're educated about guns. And yes, you can use them as a safety measure for your house and you have the right to bear arms and all the other laws that come with it, but there are certain consequences that they have out here when you do carry guns, when you fire guns in public places, etc. You can still go to jail.
If I may, on top of that, what Dominic just said, yes, thank you, is he's talking about modeling responsible behavior around guns, and that is what's, I feel, sorely missing in this conversation. Kids and teens generally get the gun they use from their home or their friend's home. And they get it because it is not safely and securely stored. This is an easy, in my opinion, way to stem some of the tide. And it's great that you're modeling that responsible behavior in your home because you're right, that is where it is important and starts.
I might add to you that there are some gun locks in the back that the city of Columbus has provided that hopefully some folks will take away and also share with people who may need them. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I wanted to add that we cannot have a false sense of security as parents. Whether you are a two-parent home, you're career-oriented, we cannot have that false sense of security that that's not my child. I raised my child in a certain way in which they wouldn't do that because of the role model that we are doing. As an educator, I can tell you who your child is at home may more likely not be who they are when they're not with you. When we are teachers and educators, we have a trained ear to children conversation. And you would be very surprised with our children now with the gateway of social media and with airdropping and all of those things that they can do, that we have to be more proactive. Being a proactive parent is very hard because it's 24/7 action, whether it be checking the social media, checking and tearing down the doors. We as Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children use our pain to tell you, I'd much rather you do that 24/7 action, going in their rooms, calling their friends, if they're 17, call their friends' parents. Do not think that because they're 17, they have this freedom. I'd rather you do that than be sitting in my position memorializing your child.
And to that point, Melissa, you helped me with some women from your organization who had lost children. What can you tell us from a person who has lost a child to kind of make people think about this more deeply?
If you ever lay your head on your child's chest and you no longer hear a heartbeat, like I had to, like my mothers who you see here, when we have our last moment with our children and they are no longer ever going to be able to say, I love you, to her point, please do the work. Please interject. It is the most painful feeling to bury your child. I have multiple mothers who have buried 2 children. I have one here today. I have a mother just lost her child in April, here today. I have a mother here right now who doesn't know her child's killer, here today. Talk to them. I've got parents here. I've got a mother here on the 1 year of her vigil. The vigil was shot up and somebody else was murdered because of that vigil, here today. Use us. Tap into us, because we wear this orange and we wear this camel so you won't have to.
You know, along those same lines, I just cannot emphasize how important it is to hear personal stories of real people who are experiencing this, and people are really experiencing it in ways that I don't want to imagine. So I'm sorry. I can't say sorry enough to the mothers in this community who have buried children. You're not supposed to bury your child. There's no way.
Allow them to stand up if they're.
Yeah, let's have the mothers
If you
of
lost
murdered
a child to
children.
violence, please stand. Please give them a round of applause.
So as far as solutions that we as a community come up, what's the one thing that you want people to do? You want to go first, Shannon?
Sure do.
Okay.
So again, Moms Demand Action, we're the largest gun violence prevention movement here in the country. There's over 10 million of us. We're the largest counterweight to the gun lobby. And we work to bring common sense to our gun legislation and talk about secure storage. We want to normalize the conversation around secure storage and normalize the conversation around adults talking about how they store their weapon. Nobody on this panel or nobody on this stage is saying that nobody should have a weapon. If they want to have a weapon in their home, they should. That is their right. What we're talking about is with that comes responsibility, and you should store it securely. I would ask everyone here to consistently and constantly contact their legislator and ask them to propose and pass secure storage laws. I would ask them to consistently show up to the good that is happening. As Melissa says, the violence does have a tendency to outweigh the noise, but I know, Melissa knows, Dominic knows, we all know up here, there is a lot of good happening around this issue and people working very, very hard and tirelessly to stem the epidemic, but we need you. We need you desperately in the fight. Every voice matters. So I would ask, whatever you can contribute, if it's small, if it's large, if it's just money, if it's your time, whatever, we desperately need you in this fight.
What would you say, Dominic?
I think one of the things that we can do as a community, and I always speak towards this, is to simply be more collaborative. I always say collaboration over competition. And what I mean by that is that the people who are in power, the people who are heading up programs, et cetera, oftentimes find themselves scratching and calling for wins because of what they're individually doing in their own programs or in their own silos. And we're all affecting kids. But until we decide that, regardless of what side of town you're on, from a program leader standpoint, regardless of what branch of government that you are a part of, regardless of school district or what side of town that you're on, that we're going to collectively come together. We don't care who gets to win. We don't care who gets to stand up in front of the crowd or the person who gets to stand at the podium and say the numbers and how we impacted lives. We just got to be willing to say, I was a part of the team, and I'm glad, even if my name didn't get called, I was a piece of that. I was a part of that, right? We have to stop creating barriers because there's enough of those already out there, right? Like, there's enough of barriers already out there. So when you have individuals, I feel like at the top who aren't afraid to, who are afraid to necessarily put their name on things because traditionally we haven't done things. Well, I think, this uncommon area is called for the leaders that we have today. We are the people that we've been waiting for, to change where we're at right now, right? So I'm just calling on leaders, I think, that to truly understand and listen to our youth and then go back and put a lot of stuff into action, right? Common sense gun laws down there to stay hot. Like, these are things that we could do at the top, right? To ultimately help our youth out, to help our parents out, to the ones who want to be involved? How do we get better housing, better jobs, et cetera? How do we, there's some law, there's some things up for voting right now. We're talking about sending our black men to jail, right? How do we keep more men into the house, right? Ultimately, for me, that perpetuates violence and a lot of other things, but that's kind of some of the solutions I have.
So if you have questions for the panel, our staffers from the Columbus Dispatch are going to walk up and down the aisles to collect those, just kind of pass them towards the aisles. You spoke a few minutes ago about the government. What would you like to see the government do? I know you have a lot of things you want to.
I want them to recognize the epidemic that their extremist ways has caused. A lot of what is happening in our state when it comes to gun violence is because we have some of the loosest gun laws in the country. And it is extremism at our state house that started long ago, and unfortunately, they took over. And they do not see the connection between what they're doing and the damage it is causing on our community. They just don't see it. So I would say continue to legislate and advocate for yourself, but more importantly, please register to vote and then vote. Vote like your children's lives depend on it, because they do.
And Taylin and Clea, what would you like to see adults do?
I would like to see adults get more involved with the community and their kids, honestly.
I think, like I said before, I just think you just got to be more involved in their life, just a simple conversation. And I'm telling y'all, a simple "I love you" will change a lot. Parents, try to seek first to understand and to be understood, because a lot of the times we really are looking for guidance, and it's hard to get it from a lot of people and even y'all sometimes. So I would say really dive deep and make sure they are okay mentally, and it will change a lot.
Thank you. Can you run for office right now? Have you changed the rules to have her run for something? Okay, so let's have some questions come up from the audience. We'll start the Q&A part right now. Anything else you guys want to just say that we didn't talk about so far?
I do want to say, please be informed of the evolution of the child. Who our children were before COVID is not who our children are after COVID. There was a true evolution in our youth. And I want you to tap into what they are now in tune to. Be informed. If you don't know what a Glock switch is, please inform yourself, because it is the smallest device that could cause a large mass destruction in a heartbeat, and your child could get it for $20. Please inform yourselves of all of these changing things. Create social media. Be a ghost follower. Do what you need to do to keep your children alive.
So we have a couple questions I'm going to run through, and feel free if you have questions as we go along to flag down our folks. For the youth on the stage, what safety practices make you feel safe at school?
Like the lockdowns, level 3 lockdowns, or level 2, and just basically when we go over the drills to help us, it helps us feel.
How about you? What makes you feel safe?
My honest opinion, well, at least for my school, I know that a lot of our shooters are actually students. So I think when we switch up practices, it makes me feel safe, because most of them are students, so they know our next move. They know where we will be hiding, and they'll know where we'll be. I like when they immediately reach out to our parents and let them know what's happening. Because I'll call my mom myself.
So this is a question about the news media, but it's an interesting question. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. How could the news media do more to show how these children are getting access to guns? Like, and ultimately, what do you want the news media to do to tell the story?
I think they need to change the narrative around, I think the news media says if it bleeds, it leads. And I think that they've fallen into this trap of showing too much of the violence and not showing some of the good that is happening and the people that are working in this issue and pushing back up against it. I'd like to see that more.
Anybody else got any ideas of what we should be doing as media?
I agree with her. More positivity that that could be showing. You can't really turn on the news, without seeing violence this or violence that. So it almost just, obviously keeps stirring and keeps it at the top of mind. But there's a lot of organizations in our city that are doing phenomenal work, to prevent this, and not enough kids getting that type of attention. So I would agree.
There are a couple questions about that I think get to the point of how do people start conversations in their neighborhoods? How do they propel their organizations forward? As people who have organizations that are doing great things in our community, what advice could you give?
It only takes one person to start a coalition. When we started this August 20th of 2020, a 2-year-old was murdered by his 14-year-old uncle because of an unlocked firearm. That 14-year-old uncle happened to be one of our students. It became so personal, not only that my son is a Columbus City graduate and all of the students that have passed before him, but it was something about this story because it was when we were at our most unrest with law enforcement, when we were all downtown and it was us against them. And I was a mother who was saying, nah, it's us against us. So just takes one person. We stood on Mount Vernon with a picture of my son with some chips that were donated and just held up signs. It doesn't have to be flamboyant. It just has to be from your heart.
And I would say, and Melissa and her group, and I'm sure Dominic will agree, you need to be consistent. Keep showing up and show up consistently. And your movement will grow. Our movement was started by a mom at her kitchen table in Indiana, and here we are 10 years and 10 million people later. Just keep showing up and do it consistently.
And it's another question. This is actually a question about mental health and its connection with gun violence. How would you suggest the community address mental health and the connections with gun violence?
It brings back up to post-COVID and who we are post-COVID. I think that when we sat unconnected to all resources, you either had your own self to deal with even the smallest of issues that may have been manifested or subsided inside of you. But mental health is the #1 topic we should be tackling, especially in Black men. And our Black men typically don't reach out. And we need more Black men to speak out on behalf of other Black men to reach out and say it's okay to get help, especially for our youth.
Yeah. No, I echo those sentiments. As an individual who thought about taking my own life, at some point, right? And just the mental health side of what I didn't know then, what I know now. And I think we have to embed that and talk about it and not be afraid to speak about it like it was in my household, right? Like in our household, you really didn't, talk about going to see anybody. Going to talk to a therapist wasn't an option when I was growing up because, boy, we ain't crazy and this and that. That's just kind of the order was back then. But now we have the information. Now we know, right? And it's something that I think that in our education system that we should really be tapping into. We've even talked about in our own community programs that our kids have suffered so much trauma when things are going on, when things happen. Okay, well, now we got to take a day just to bring our mental health professionals in. We just got to take a day to have them come and just unload on them, and because it calls for, regardless of what we got programmed that day, regardless of what the curriculum says it is for us in school today. We got to stop and just talk about it. Let's just talk today. We get back to it tomorrow.
So what can individuals do around conflict resolution and mediation? Have you taken the mediation restoration courses? No? Okay, so I think that's probably a question for the superintendent.
I can say, as an educator for Columbus City Schools, though, restorative practices work. If you do it consistently and you do it, kids know heart. And they know when you're coming at them authentically, and they will gravitate to whatever you throw at them if you do it authentically. I am a fan of restorative practices because of relationship building. That is my art. That is what God gave me to do. And I encourage all of you to, wherever you work, invest in learning about restorative practices. Your entire adult or youth will change if you do it effectively.
How do kids talk about restorative practices? Have you had any classmates talk to you about it?
I feel like, I am in one at my school. I'm not sure of the name because it's only once a month, but it's pretty proactive. I feel like it teaches you a lot of different things, and you're by people your age, and it is much easier to talk to people that are your age. So I feel like it's helpful and it's efficient.
Yeah, and it'd be nice if we had that program for adults sometime, right? For sure. Yeah. A couple of questions also get to peace and how can we put peace into the world? What would it look like to you guys if we lived in a peaceful city?
I know what it looks like for me. It looks, again, I'll go back to the word, it looks very collaborative, right? Like for me, I'll just go back to my own experience growing up on Mount Vernon Avenue. I've seen a lot, and a lot with my own eyes. And I had already developed at a young age, at 4 or 5 years old, what I thought police were, what I thought violence was and wasn't. I had already started to form an idea of this world, who was for me, who was against me, whether that's because of what I was taught or what I saw or what I actually felt. So a peaceful world and a peaceful Columbus looks for me like everybody lock hand and steady in here, regardless of white, brown, regardless of nationality, religion, your age group, right? Everybody has to feel like they all get, that they have a piece. Everybody has to feel like they are important, that they matter. I think that, every adult, every youth that we deal with, again, comes to us not feeling like they truly matter, that they feel like they don't have any type of purpose in this world. I think it's up to us to truly come together, not to have a crabs in the bucket mentality, but hey, we got to each one teach one. We got to pull each other up or whatnot. And I think that we'll ultimately be able to get to the finish line where we have to get to. But it's going to have to start with us being collaborative. Start with the OGs being true OGs, right? And go back and pulling up and, making sure that we're being vocal about the things that we're seeing and being honest with our young men, et cetera. The women being honest with our young ladies, all right? Because a lot of the things that I'm seeing too is proportionally, black and brown people that are affected, by a lot of our gun violence and stuff that's going on, right? So for me, it would be us just collaboratively and just coming together.
When I think about peace, especially after losing a child, because it does happen. Now, it may be moments of peace, but it does happen. But the most simplistic things can be at your own household, just as simple for your child to come into a clean home, uncluttered, a space to study. And it doesn't have to be so overthought what peace is. If we just take care of our houses, the simple things, having a clean wash rag to wash your body every day, having toothbrushes and toothpaste and food items. These are the simple things that most of our households we take for granted. But when you teach kids that that's a luxury, when Golden Corral is a luxury, and I don't say that to be funny, but when I ask my children, where do you want to go eat? And they say, some of those restaurants, and I don't knock Golden Corral. I say that now, I know but I'm just saying, if we look at our experience versus some of their experiences, just let's start taking care of our addresses, our households. Start there first, and then let's start healing the world.
So Taylor, what's peace to you? What does that look like?
I think peace will look like me being able to go to school and not have to worry about if I could possibly die there, or my parents having to meet every single person that I hang out with, or having to meet their parents so they can know if they're good or not, or just me having to ask God to protect me every single time I step foot out of the house.
Taylin's right. As everybody was speaking, I was thinking what I would say, and I immediately thought of it would be freedom from this fear. Freedom for Taylin, freedom for these mothers who have lost children from that grief and that pain. It would be freedom. We sing about freedom in our national anthem, but I assure you folks, we are not free in a lot of ways, and we are not free from this epidemic of gun violence. And if it hasn't touched you yet, I'm here to tell you it will. We are becoming a nation of survivors. 120 people a day die from gun violence. Over 400 are injured. That ripple effect is unstoppable. And that's why, when I said earlier, we need everybody in this fight, because I want to feel the freedom from this fear as a mother, as a human being, and as somebody in this community.
You want to add anything? Okay. So obviously, Dominic, you run a program for youth. This question is, are there any programs for youth to get in that that would be, because a lot of times the young people say there's nothing to do. What programs can you think of that young people can do?
I don't want to disrespect any programs out here, but I know there's a ton of programs that parents can get their youth involved in. I think a lot of times when our mayor and our city council, and they're putting a ton of money on the streets for programs, for enrichment programs, and I think for me what has to happen is a lot of the kids aren't signing themselves up for these programs. You know what I mean? So the parents have to truly take the initiative to seek the programs out, to actually take time to sign their kids up for these particular programs. And so, but there are a ton of resources out there all across our city. Again, I can name, 10 different organizations that are doing dope things, enrichment programming during school, after school, summertime, etc. But sometimes I think the kids who ultimately need to be in these programs don't find themselves there because they don't have anyone guiding them there.
Some specific ones I want to highlight. Boys and Girls Club has an after-school program that runs to 7 p.m. all the way up until June, $10 total. Boys and Girls Club. Columbus Parks and Rec right now is registering for their youth basketball program. 10 and over is $65. 10 and under is $35. All throughout, there's AAU that happens, and I know that can be expensive, but there's scholarship opportunities. Your after-school all-stars program, APS program. Columbus Public Health has a program, it's 10 weeks, that's called Guns Down program. Tap into your city. Just go to columbuscity.gov and type in a search, and it'll come up. Most of our city entities has free or nearly free to offer you. If you need any support, you can hit me up or hit my organization Leads up, and we'll guide you to the right programs that you need.
There's a lot of things happening, what I would call very neighborhood-based, right? There's a lot of, like Dominic said, there's lots of things happening all over the city. There are groups, I'll guarantee you, in your neighborhood doing the work. They're doing the mentorship, they're doing the guidance, and a lot of them are completely free because it's somebody in the community that stepped up, saw a need, and started showing up for the kids. So look around your neighborhood. There's going to be several.
And so for our young, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, one thing I want to add to that is that a lot of the kids that come through our door too, they're at some point they were involved in extracurricular activities, whether it be a sport or a club or etc. I feel like that's just extremely important to get your kids attached to something extracurricular wise, after school programming wise. We run the largest youth sports organization with about 2,400 kids involved, but they're literally at practice from 6 to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. You know what I mean? So those are times they could be on the streets, they could be anything, but they're there from June to all the way to November.
So can you guys talk about the programs you're in with the Urban League a little bit?
Okay, so I'm a part of WRTU, which is Work Readiness Training University. It's a whole bunch of African American kids, male and female, and they come and basically they teach us about work readiness. Basically, so we're not naive to the subject. They teach us how to come dressed. You can't wear shorts to work. You can't wear sandals to work. They teach us how to speak. I'm also a part of another organization called Aaron Pink, where it's a little bit more about your identity. They have a She's Gold program that I started in sixth grade, and I am now a sophomore. It's for Black females, and they teach you like your hair is beautiful, your chocolate skin is beautiful, and I moved up to be an Epping ambassador, where your whip is male and female, and they teach you about friendships, they teach you about relationships, and you just learn a lot all together, and it is proficient at the end.
So what about the program you're in?
I'm in We Are Linden. We come together, we do a lot of community service, we go around, we talk, we try to get more kids in at that. They teach us a lot. We do got like days where they talk to us, like try to let stuff off our chest and more things like that. Like they're there to help us and keep us out of the streets, honestly.
So what do we need more of as far as what you guys would like to see?
That turned off. I'm sorry. I just think we need just more organizations like that to empower us, and even just pushing your kid to do a sport or something, or just to do something, because I know a lot of us don't want to do anything, and I'm not sure why. There's nothing to do at home, but just to push your kid, just like, I'm pretty sure you will have fun here. 9 times out of 10 you will, because I was nervous to do things like that, and now I'm really extroverted, and I love to talk to other kids, and I love to use my voice to empower other kids. It really does inspire other students. When you see a student doing something, you like, well, if they're doing it, then I can do it too, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, you kind of inspired everybody today, so congratulations on that. Yeah. Well, what do you want us to? What do you want?
I want to see more parents pushing their kids, like she said. I definitely agree. Everything she said is really what we need to see more of.
So this question is, how can we create more community projects and programs that heal the whole family? And the person said it takes a whole village. Okay. How can we create more community projects and programs that heal the whole family? It takes the whole village.
I know us, again, the program that we run called STEP, for example, at the Columbus Urban League with Ralph is literally just that. It's a holistic program that has the parents, they have a parent portion, and they're able to get the needs and resources that they need, but also the kids are able to, in turn, be going through a programmatic enrichment side of things as well. So literally, we're trying to attack both sides of the family, because we understand when mom is good, when dad is good, and they not stressing, etc. We understand that trickle-down effect to the kids, and so we've literally tried to create a safe space, for the kids to be able to, have free minds, have free voice, but also for the parents on the other side. Hey, how can we help you? What do you need? And we're there every week, right? And so I think that again, it's literally just finding those specific programs, even if it's not us. There may be other programs out there, but finding those programs that really just focus on a holistic style, because they're out there. They're out there.
And if I could add, I'm not saying we don't need more people involved and more people starting groups, but there are a lot of people doing a lot of good work, and they would love to see your face helping out, and they would appreciate the city and the state with giving them funding. There is evidence and statistics that say community violence interruption works, and it just needs more funding and more exposure.
Yes, I think that's a very important. In this work, and as a dual role of a mother who has lost a child to violence, as well as a Columbus City educator, there are gaps between families in the school districts, not just Columbus City. I've learned that so many of our parents who are being murdered, their children are being raised by grandparents. There's a gap there. And so I would love for more conversation with our Board of Education and the families affected by violence to have intimate conversations that are closed to just them and the BOEs around, so that they can hear in a safe space where those gaps are and how those families can help them fill it.
Okay, this person says there are many of us doing the same work. How do you propose we overcome the politics of many of these organizations who block collaborations? It was actually, I think it was for you, Dominic, in particular, but I don't know.
I think it literally, we have to be open, be honest and upfront. We have to not be afraid to pick up the phone. And I think we have to, we have to call people out. From where I'm from, I'm not afraid to call, have a conversation with the individual that's across town. I think, again, we've gotten into a space where it's like, I want to be the person or the champion, I want to be crowned as the individual who brought you violence to a halt. I want that to be my name. I want that to be my program, etc. And the truth of the matter is, regardless if you got a program, we all can't affect all the kids here. So we need more of us, right? We need more of us. We need our school districts, to be honest, right? I know a lot of families, I think like 94% of my families that I deal with are CCS kids. I'm not sure we have I'm not sure my kindergartners and my first and second grader families, I'm not sure, what's the relationship like with their administrators, right? But I know that we're both affecting the same kids. I know we're offering services maybe that they don't particularly but we're touching the same kids, right? But I think that until we start holding each other accountable, which is tough and which is hard, but we got to hold each other accountable, to people who are running these programs to fully come to the forefront. And I think we start saying, hey, if we don't want to be collaborative, what if they started funding groups that were only collaborative? Hey, let's put together a joint plan over here. And if the joint plan ain't put together amongst everybody that's together, then maybe you don't get funded, right? And I also like to see, I know I got family members, et cetera. When I was coming up, I know our police officers was in our schools. When we talk about safety and different things like that, Officer Blackman was a person who I still talk to today, who was a, mentor of mine, but he was the officer that was in my school. We felt safe with him around, and everything like that. I know they've moved away from it. I remember I asked one of my students one day who was their officer just a few years back, and it's like, well, we don't got officers in the schools no more. And I don't know where that's at. I don't know political side of that, but I just know what that did for us, coming up. I know what that did, right? And so I just think we got to restore some of that, but we also have to keep people accountable. The people who've been getting funded for 10, 15 years. Okay, let's look back. Let's see some of these results, right? Let's see if the funding, the things that, if that's really being effective. If not, okay, let's redo it. Let's not take it away. Okay, but we got to do something different.
It definitely needs to be data driven. I think the city does a great job giving organizations money. I think that it isn't equitable by any means. I think that if we start producing data and become data driven and allow those dollars to be given to those who can produce what you are doing. Mothers of Murder Columbus children, 100% of the funding goes to the community. Every one of us, like Moms Demand Action, are volunteers. Every one of us. So the difference between our organization and some is because we literally do this so you do not have to lose your children. It's not ego driven, it's passion driven. So if many other organizations tap back into the passion behind the organization, they will become collaborative, just easy.
So obviously, a lot of our youth get in trouble with guns and they go to jail. This person asks, what are we doing for the youth in the system? Like what should we do once they get out too? Can I add on to that?
Well, y'all know us. Literally, that's what the STEP program is at the Columbus Urban. It's a second chance opportunity for kids who are who've been just as involved, who are on the cusp of being just as involved. So again, if you guys know any youth between the ages of 12 and 18 who have been just as involved or on the cusp of being just as involved, they can enter this program. It's a 100% free, complete program, and they're providing assistance to the parents as well. But we are helping them transition through, getting them back into, our neighborhood, to our community. There's a transitional period there, but I also think that there has to be, again, a more collaborative mindset when we come to, our judges, right? When it comes to, we had a student one time who really couldn't participate in a program because he had a PO that was kind of just like, no, I don't want to let you, kind of giving the kid a hard time, right? So I think that it's going to take all of us to kind of, hey, what's best for this kid, right? But yes, definitely for us, I know, from a program standpoint, that's one of the things that people can tap into.
We have a true partnership with the Ohio Department of Youth Services and the Ohio Department of Corrections. And one of the biggest reentry issues that we're seeing is that there is a miss or a gap between getting out and being thrown back into regular society. It's almost like you get out and then here, go be a normal person without that middleman. So I think that we need to start to notice that when children, even if it's just juvenile, they didn't go to the Ohio Department of Youth Services, but juvenile detention, we need to have a better transition model in place to support them and know that you are not your past mistake. You have a clean slate. You can become someone. Use redemption stories. Have them interact with those who have redemption stories and allow them to see that just because this happened doesn't mean your future isn't bright.
That was a great point. Thank you for that. We have a couple more minutes for questions. If you have a question, you flag down one of our folks and they will bring it up to me. This is from a firearms instructor. Whenever we talk about Black youth, we never talk about training these kids. What are your thoughts about that and training?
It's the adult's responsibility. Moms Demand Action doesn't believe that children should be trained in firearms. It's the adult's responsibility. You can't be, it's 18 for a long gun here in the state of Ohio. It's 21 for a handgun. So there is, in my opinion, there is no training for a child to handle a gun. They should be securely stored, and you should have conversations around modeling good behavior around a gun and what it is and how it should be used.
Counter that just a little bit. And I only say this because in my own training from my instructor, the more you understand the destruction the weapon and firearm can have, the more respect you'll have. Now, am I saying go take your child to a gun range? That is your personal preference. But I do think there's a sense of some type of learning and curriculum that children can take, just like sex education. Would you say in 7th grade, like we had sex education, it was to inform, to make better decisions, not to inform, to be able to utilize. So if we can inform them to make wiser decisions, to lessen the violence, I think there's a dichotomy there that you can fit some training in there and some education so that they make better decisions when they're faced with having a firearm in their hand.
Very interesting kind of take on it too, because a lot of people do go to you shouldn't have to be around a gun. So that was Interesting tape. Okay, this person wants to know where can I go to give my money in time? You can go to my bank account and deposit as much as you want, but no, just kidding.
There are some cards in the back of if you'd like to donate to our Columbus group, all the money that you donate goes directly to the work our Columbus group is doing here in Columbus. There's a QR code on the postcard that I left on the table. You can donate as much as you want.
Mothers of Murder ColumbusChildren.com. There's a donate button there. You also can donate to me personally, and it does 100% does go into the organization. We have a lot of initiatives for 2024. We are very excited to build a collaborative effort with all of you. You are all invited because we truly need all of you.
You can contact Stephanie Hightower her phone or cell phone. No, don't do that. You can go to cul.org. Hit the donate tab. Again, donate how much ever you want, or you can go to wearelegacyU.com obviously as well and donate there.
Okay, so it's gonna be our final question. It was for you, Dominic, but I think anybody can answer it. What can the community do to help young people recognize their value? I know the hardest question at the very end.
Yeah, I think we all can answer this. I don't know. I think for me, it's been more of a lot of what we talked about up here. I'm big on just speaking life into young people. I think that for me, dealing with youth, of all the years I've dealt with them, they simply just want somebody to believe in them. They want somebody that truly loves them for them and who they are. I think they deal with enough identity issues, maybe in their own households, etc. So when you come to me, whoever you are and what you are, I'm just trying to pour into what that is. I'm trying to dive deep into, I don't need anything from you. You know what I mean? And we're literally just trying to get to the root of who you are. Now I need to help you branch out. I need to help you blossom, right? Because I'm understanding that, that the trees that we're planting right now, that we ultimately might not be able to climb. I'm very aware of that. And so again, I think when you're truly dedicating your life to someone else and the youth and the people that we pour into, it's literally just saying, hey, having a conversation. Like she said, telling our kids that we love them. I remember me giving my son a hug and a kiss for the first time one time. He was like, man, what do you? But it was like, nah, like you my son, right? But just that male affection was different for him and it was different for me. I had to learn it because I didn't have it, but I know my son needed it, right? So I think that us, again, just pouring into them, and figuring out what it is that who they are is a huge part.
You want to go?
I was just going to say the belief gap is real. Allowing your children to know that whatever they put their hearts to, if they want to be an artist and the first thing that they paint is just absolutely not art in your mind, make them believe it's the best thing that they've ever created in life. When your child wants to give up because it didn't happen automatically, do not allow them to give up. Sometimes we have to continue to force our children to remain in the zone until it clicks. As a coach, that first time you put that ball in their hand, they don't know how to dribble, but you keep practicing. And then you see the crossover, and then you see behind the back. And when they see that hard work pays off because you didn't allow them to quit, you'll see the fruits of your labor manifest.
Well, I just want to thank this wonderful panel. Weren't they fantastic? I feel like so much wisdom, especially from our young leaders. I want to thank Shannon Mulligan from Moms Demand Action, Melissa Thomas St. Clair from Mothers of Murdered Children Columbus, Dominic Jones from Legacy Youth Academy and the Urban League, and our 2 stars from the Urban League, Taylin Hurt and also Kalani Watkins. So thank you guys so much. Okay. And also, thank you guys for all the great questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get through more of them, but there were so many questions. Now we're going to bring 2 people on the stage who can talk to us about next steps for the community. As we've been discussing, this is a problem that we all have the power to help address. Let's welcome to the stage NAACP Columbus Chapter President Nana Watson and Council Member Emmanuel Ramey. They're going to discuss the We Got Us and anti-violence campaign pledge. The Queen is here. Anywhere you want to.
Okay, I'm gonna sit next to you.
You sit next to him.
Whew. What's up?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out. You could be anywhere this afternoon, and you chose to be here, so we really thank you for that. Can we give it up for Shannon and Melissa and Dominique and our students who did a great job on this panel? Moms Demand Action and Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children and Legacy U, they all do a spectacular job in taking care of our youth and really living their passion through tragedy, but still doing the great things within the community. We're here to bring a call to action to everyone that's here today. Yesterday we announced at the, what is that park? The Social Justice Park at Cleveland and High Street, or Cleveland and Broad Street, about this program called We Got Us. And this is a call to action. So if everyone would pull out their phones right now.
I don't have to pull mine out, right?
No, we took the pledge already, but I'm going to ask you to go to wegotuscbus.org. That's .com. wegotuscbus.com. And while you're doing that, I want to acknowledge that my colleague, Councilmember Brown's here. I see Senator Herschel Craig here. Councilmember Nick Bankson was here just a little bit ago. All of these people are doing a great job in activating our community and making sure that we all stack hands to make a difference. So there are 5 pillars to this commitment that we're asking every community member to take. Yesterday, Dr. Chapman was there with a couple of students, Fana and Aaliyah. And then today, I spoke to a bunch of Columbus City Schools students and asked them to take the pledge. It starts with our youth taking this pledge, but there are 5 pillars. Setting a new standard. We will not allow crime and gun violence to be the norm in Columbus. That's pillar 1. We're building stronger neighborhoods by being active in our community. We will enhance our neighborhood safety. Empowering our youth. We will become mentors and champions for our youth. You heard one of these students up here today talk about love. And it's okay to stop somebody on the street and say, you are loved, we do care, and we want to be there for you. What can we do for you? Each and every one of you can do that. Responsible gun ownership. This city council has already passed legislation in the city of Columbus that we will lock up our guns and secure lock boxes and secure our homes to protect us and our children. If you need a gun lock, they're in the back. If you don't get it today, there is one at every single fire station in the city of Columbus. And Columbus Public Health has lock boxes. And then finally, enriching opportunities. We pledge to share enriching summer and after-school programs with young people. This website is going to grow. In fact, every single organization that we fund for youth programming, this year it was $20 million over the summer, will be on this website. So you can be informed and understand where this money is going and how you can get involved and activate. I am so proud to be sitting here with my president, President Nana Watson of the Columbus chapter of the NAACP, who has been the driving force behind this program. And so I'm going to turn it over to her and have a few words.
Thank you, my councilman. And I bring you greetings from the oldest and boldest civil rights organization in America, your NAACP. I don't have any council people, but I know I get NAACP members in the house. If you could just shout, yes. Yes. Okay, let me, you can't shout?
I said yes.
Oh, okay. Sure, I heard that. I think it's key for the community to know how this got started. It started with a conversation with Council President Shannon Hardin, because I saw in the news and I was disappointed that the city was focusing on a community that I believe is an entertainment section of our community, and that would be the Short North. And I thought, well, Guns, it's happening there, but what are we going to do in our community? Council President Hardin and I were at our wits' end. That's how this came about. We decided to form a collaboration to hold hands and say, this has got to stop. I appreciate the panel. I heard love. I heard check your address from my good friend Melissa. I heard from the young people talking about self-esteem. What we're going to ask you to do is very simple. We want you to go to that website, because you know I'm not going to remember it.
WeGotUsCBus.com.
We want you to take that pledge. We're working in conjunction with our superintendent, Dr. Angela Chapman, and her staff. We're going to have signs in her schools. We want the children to sign. We have to own this. We have got to stop this gun violence. You've got locks. There's no excuse. Everybody's got to take somebody's hand, and we got to sign these pledges. It is so key to our community. So do we have your commitment to sign this pledge? Okay, Senator Herschel Craig? Yes, ma'am. Okay, where's Councilperson Mitch Brown? Oh, he may have left. He's going to sign it. So I just want you all to remember, we don't want these guns in our community. They're taking the lives of our babies and our adults and some seasoned citizens. We've got to take this pledge. And the NAACP is so excited to be a part of this, and we're going to drive it with the help of Dr. Chapman and her staff. So we're appreciative of you attending this event. We've got cards out there. And Rima, you know everybody doesn't have a phone, and you know how I feel about electronic things. So it's because I'm challenged in that area. But we've got these cards. We want you to take one. Sign that pledge now. We have some tokens out there in the hallway, I think. What's out there?
Well, of course, we got the gun locks, so we brought to make sure that people knew those. I mean, to reiterate some of the things that have been said and need to be said, these are our streets. And make no mistake about it. Last night we had a call in that the Office of Violence Reduction, and thank you for your testimony last night, because it was impactful and powerful of the whole night. And we appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you guys do. But certainly we had about 9 of some of our most violent offenders, gang members, group leaders, whatever we want to call it. And we told them last night that we're here to support them. We're here for them to change their lives. But if they choose not to, we will round up every member that's associated with them when they commit a crime, and we will go after them at the fullest extent, with the fullest extent of the law, because these are our streets. They are no one else. So by you stacking hands with all of us, we're making a commitment that whether you're a faith leader, a community leader, an area commission leader, a parent, a student, it does not matter. We need you to commit to our streets and make sure that we got us, because enough is enough. And we don't need to be having more meetings. We need to actually be out on the streets and make a difference.
Well, Amy, I think you've said it all. You're always trying to overtalk me. Hadn't he said it all?
He did say it all. Who hasn't signed the pledge? You need to sign it right now with those.
Hand.
Take those phones out.
Do not. Well, if you need assistance, she's got. You see Jennifer back there. Jennifer Walton's back there. She will help take care of this. But if you leave out of here and don't sign that pledge, shame on you. We need everyone. It's a commitment, and we need everyone to do that. So, Amelia, thank you so much for your moderation today. It's been great, and the dispatch is, putting this all together.
No, thank you, guys. Thank you, President Watson, and thank you, Councilman Rainey.
I have one more thing. I know.
Oh, you got one more thing? Okay, go ahead.
I got one more thing. This is a family project. It's going to be in the churches. The faith-based leaders have signed on. The school has signed on. I see my friend Scott Varner, Franklin County Children's Services. I know you're going to sign on. Raise your hand so they'll know who you are. I see Franklin County Prosecutor, my friend back there. I know you're going to have them sign down there, because I know you don't want to be sentencing people. Well,
That's a really good point. You signed on. Make sure your significant other signs on. Make sure your children sign on. Make sure that everybody signs on, because again, it's going to take us all to make a difference. and we
program.
appreciate you.
It's our program, it's our community, and it's up to us to stop it. And Dr. Chapman, thank you for your words of inspiration when you talk about your scholars in Columbus City School, and we're glad to partner with you. Thank you so very much. And to you, my friend, thank you. And I'm done.
Thank you. All right. Well, you're never done, honey, so don't even. So thank you, seriously, thank you guys for coming out. It's been an evening where a lot of emotions, but it's for our community, and the work is well worth it to save our city, save our kids, save our adults, save everybody. I want to thank our many people who helped put this on from the Columbus Public City Schools. I keep saying public always. The National Association for the Advancement of Color People. I want to thank the staff of the Columbus Dispatch, who is working very hard to cover these very challenging and very sad stories. I want to thank Mom Demand Actions, Mothers of Murdered Children in Columbus. I want to thank the Columbus Metropolitan Library, and also City Council for all their tremendous help. So thank you so much. CTV, and also CTV, I'm sorry, and CTV did put the most work in. So let's give it up for CTV first, and then everybody else second. I want everybody to have a great night. Thanks for coming.